Start video in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play. Thank you, Immerhill. It's always a pleasure to be online with you in the Dreadnought world. I am here with Kyle Gus, and today we are going to be talking about a strategy that we've seen a few times where a team simply finds a place, sits there, and turtles away relying on their Koshi to heal them, and strength in numbers and mass. Hello, Kyle. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thanks. How about you?
Doing well, doing well. It's weather's outside is awesome. So, what have you seen in the alpha so far that gives you the most excitement about Dreadnought?
Ship progression has gotten a lot better since pre-alpha. I'm really happy about that. The look of everything's been cleaned up a little bit. The UI's definitely gotten better. So I'm happy with their progression, that's for sure.
What is your favorite ship that you have played around with so far?
I have a hard time deciding. I really like the Crochet, but I also like the Nox. So it's a rough choice.
What is your favorite thing about the Nox besides the obvious thing that you can fire in any direction?
I like the mobility of the ship. It plays a lot different than the other artillery cruisers. It's a more support ship rather than a stand back and just camp ship. It's I don't know. It definitely doesn't play like any of the other artillery cruisers.
Yeah, that's true. I've definitely noticed that the Nox is for sure very, very difficult to plasma ram, like Crazy Flying Chicken and I like to do. It's just a lot faster than the other artillery cruisers, and so much harder to chase down. You almost have to be able to warp in within a few hundred meters of it before you initiate your plasma ram before you hit it.
I've laughed at so many people trying to plasma ram me in my Nox because I usually take dive maneuver. So I'll wait till they get really close and then hit dive maneuver when they activate their plasma ram, and I'm out of the way before they can even hit me.
Yeah, do you follow up with a bomb catapult usually?
If I have bomb catapult equipped and not something else, yes.
How many times have you killed someone that's been trying to plasma ram you with a bomb catapult?
Every time I've had bomb catapult equipped, I've killed the person that tried to plasma ram me.
That's it, folks. You heard it from Kyle. If you're trying to take on the Nox, you better disrupt their abilities before you plasma ram or take it on in close quarters, otherwise, it's going to wipe you out. So let's get down to the matter at hand with this turtling concept. So, here in the video, we have Imrahil playing against a team that has 4 Dreadnoughts and 1 Koshi. The biggest thing that I noticed first when watching the video about the successfulness or failure of trying to run this kind of strategy where you just sit 4 Dreadnoughts in the same area with 1 Koshi healing and just sit there and hope that you're able to survive and out damage the enemy. The thing that Kyle and I notice is that the location is no. It seems like almost no matter where you choose, that there's never going to be a prime place to do a turtling strategy. What what are the
Yeah,
things?
there are very few maps that have a really good turtling spot, and the one that does, it's really hard to get to, especially in team elimination. Get everyone there in an amount of time that would make it effective.
Yeah, and then another thing I notice is that it doesn't, even with the size of a dreadnought, no matter which direction you face each of your dreadnoughts, you're never going to be able to completely shield your Koshi because the other team is likely to be running ships that can maneuver faster than the dreadnoughts.
Exactly.
So here we are with round one of this team elimination match. Talk us through what.
And you can already see that their artillery cruiser is in a good spot to just start hammering their dreadnoughts and their tactical cruiser. So the fire and their dreadnoughts can't even reach the artillery cruiser. So the range on they're already being outranged and outdamaged before they're even in range of anyone, which is a big problem with the turtling strategy. So what do you see that's going on?
So one thing I noticed is that because of the fact that they're picking one location to just turtle at, means that the other team, Imrahil's team, the team that we're seeing right now, has free reign over to where they want to come in, and it just shows you another reason why the location issue is a big factor, because the enemy team has every option in the book as far as what vectors to come in after you on.
Absolutely. And you can see from Emerhill's point of view, he can't see any of the enemy ships. So they can't see him. Therefore, they have no target on him. I mean, yeah, they got a missile salvo off on him, but that takes away what, half his health, and then he starts gaining health right back. So who cares? And they're getting hammered right now.
Yeah, and another thing that comes into play is energy. How much energy the turtling team is able to preserve and use for useful purposes.
Absolutely.
As we are about to see, Dogma is going to purge ram one of their dreadnoughts, and it's a very simple yet very very effective way to just destroy the energy of one of the dreadnoughts, which opens up the middle of their formation, making it even easier to divide and conquer.
Yep. And purge ram you don't see as much used as plasma ram in team elimination, but it's hugely effective even in team elimination.
Yeah, and so then the second round, as we're about to see, Locrium makes a change from his Renegade Destroyer to an Invictus Dreadnought, and
Right.
it's kind of interesting because you would think that switching to a Dreadnought, which is bringing the team of Immerhill more closely to their enemy's fleet comp, would make a big difference as far as equaling things out, but it really doesn't, does it?
It gives Emerhill's team a bigger hit point pool, so Emerhill doesn't have to work as hard to keep everyone alive. Keeping a from playing a attack a lot, I keeping a dreadnought alive is much easier than keeping a destroyer alive. So from the team's point of view, this just makes it easier for the team. And they're not really giving up that much firepower because the Invictus, while it's got a pretty short range, it's got that 80 round clip, so it just suppresses like nobody's business.
Yeah, it's true. The Dreadnought, man, it is so much harder to take down. Even someone like Crazy Flying Chicken has trouble taking it on one with a plasma ram, even with his skill.
Yeah.
So, one thing that the enemy does try to do a little bit more of here in this second round is they try to open up with some dreadnought nukes to try to cause more damage because they see that they're obviously not causing much. But what do you notice about how easy it is to deter that attempt to cause more damage on the team that's not turtling?
Well, the thing that they did wrong here was they launched all their nukes at once, and you saw one of the guys in his destroyer right there use the anti-nuke laser, which takes out the nukes. So if they would have launched one nuke and let the anti-nuke laser cooldown go off, and then launched another nuke after that, Emerhill's team would have had to either avoid the nuke or take it. And by launching all your options at once, they can use a single countermeasure to destroy all of it. And you can see there that they use the cloak pulse from their Koshi, and in an attempt to try and camouflage their position. But good players know what to look for, and cloak pulse isn't that effective in this situation.
Yeah,
Would you agree?
yeah, especially because I mean, if a team turtles in one round, then the first thing that the other team is going to assume is that they're going to try it again, and as such, it turns out to be the fact. And so Imrahil's team is able to just go right to the same location, and the cloak really doesn't help them out as much as some would think.
If they had used cloak pulse to get all those dreadnoughts to try and move, so they were unseen while they were moving, that would have been a much better use of cloak pulse.
Yeah, and again, in this second round, they go down very, very quickly, almost as quickly as the first round.
Ridiculously fast, yeah.
And again, like I said with the first round, energy management is a killer because you're spending all your energy on nothing but shields and weapons because one Koshi cannot heal up every single dreadnought enough so that it doesn't have to use shields.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now that we've seen both the rounds and a very decisive win for the non-turtling team, let's look at some of the point differential because the difference in the points between Emery Hill's team and the turtling team is absolutely astounding. If
Yeah,
you
it's staggering the difference between the two.
if you look at the total combined score for the entire round, the turtling team has 3,670, whereas Emery Hill's team has 9,480. That's almost 4 times the amount of points. Um, what uh, what were some other small little things that you saw between the point differences of Imrahil's team as on an individual basis and the turtling team?
So, one thing to notice is, let's see, who was this? Um, Immerhill, obviously, as the healer, gets a lot of points because he's just taking up damage. But the interesting thing is, during the second match, he doesn't make nearly as many points as he does in the first match. The team just, with switching their abilities to nukes instead of other abilities and basically wasting those nukes, they had much less damage to put out. So Immerhill had less damage to heal. So I thought it was interesting. That was interesting. And then Adavanter in his Svarog definitely did better in the second round than in the first round.
Yeah, it would make very much sense. I mean, because if you show your hand, which turtling you do show your hand in the first round, especially of a team elimination match, because the enemy is trying to take you out as quickly as possible because you only have a few minutes as opposed to 20 minutes like in Taden deathmatch.
Right.
It's just a very very overall poor strategy because of so many ways, but in one case in particular, it's just really easy to predict, and you show your hand to your enemy very fast.
Now, I will make a counter argument that if you're in a pre-organized, like in an organized team, and you turtle with a decent ship composition, like not all dreadnoughts and one healer, you can do decently well. It's not to say that you can't always turtle. It's just turtling is generally less effective than being mobile.
Yeah, absolutely. It does take a lot of coordination though between all of your teammates and really really good communication on who needs healing and when.
Absolutely. And as a person that plays a healer a lot, I can attest to the fact that turtling takes a lot more work on the part of the healer than it does on the part of anyone else. But as soon as that one link in the chain is gone, the healer's gone, the turtling's basically over.
Yeah, and as you can see in the video, the Koshi is the first to go in both rounds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and one last thing to note is that the time from first death to complete elimination for both rounds was under 60 seconds. In round one, it was
which is ridiculous.
yeah, yeah. And round one, it was 44 seconds, and in round two, it was 54 seconds. And honestly, I think the only difference between the time and the second round was because the cloak did make it a little bit more difficult to focus fire after the Koshi went down and each dreadnought was pretty much on their own. But still, I mean, 10 seconds honestly isn't that much of a difference because in team elimination, each round lasts for several minutes.
Yeah, see, I would argue that the Cloak Pulse had a slight increase in their time on the field, but the bigger thing that contributed to their time on the field was that the Invictus doesn't have as much damage as a Renegade, especially with the Plasma Ram.
Yep, yep. It is absolutely true because the plasma ram doesn't have that long of a cooldown time. That's why Chicken and I are able to take dreadnoughts on one in the game is because all you have to do is be able to avoid the dreadnought's fire for about I think it's 20 seconds if I'm remembering right the exact cooldown time.
I think you're correct. And if you have the Retaliator Captain perk, it's even less than that.
Yeah, and another thing is that the dreadnought does not really fire on a fast-moving target that's in close range very well, especially if you're smart about it and you use a disruptor missile on the dreadnought before you get your first plasma ram.
Absolutely true.
So there you have it, folks. Unless you have really, really good coordination with your teammates and you're talking to each other actively over either a team deathmatch match or a team elimination match, it is very, very difficult to pull it off successfully when you're not coordinating, as this team didn't look like it did a whole lot of coordinating, and the communication factor is, of course, a huge thing as well.
And I would also put in there that team composition is as big of a part as coordination.
There you have it, folks. Thank you for listening to this segment. And now we are going to turn it back over to our very, very blessed host, Imrahil. Imrahil, take us from there.